You wake up. That in and of itself is a surprise. You barely remember when you drifted off. It didn't quite feel like sleep, more like plummeting into an endless void. You imagine that's how death feels like. The room isn't changed. The lamp is still on, the AC is still rattling, the refrigerator's still humming. You take a look at your watch. God, it's almost 9. You slept for 17 hours straight. Maybe you died. Your breath is gone, and you feel no thumping in your chest. Does it qualify as dead if you're still conscious? You're not sure about that, but you are certain about one thing. You're hungry. It's not your stomach rumbling, though. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and the back of your head. You open the fridge. The bag's still there. You take a closer look at it. If it is soup, then its color and texture are off. You pull the cork out and take a whiff. You recognize the smell immediately. Holy shit. There's no mistaking it. It's bagged blood. The smell is faint, and you remember some situations in the past where you found it nauseating, but now it's almost... No, not almost. It is enticing. Nah, we don't want to run around on an empty tummy. It feels wrong, but right now, there's barely anything in your life that doesn't. To hell with it. You pour the bit of the liquid into your mouth. It tastes bland. Reminds you of cheap supermarket juice. Just enough flavor to register as what it claims to be on the box, but nothing like the real thing. Bag blood is the equivalent of LaCroix. It's canon. It's just watery, viscous fluid that you passed by actual blood. Nothing like what you had the last time. You swallow it. And somehow you don't feel sick. In a weird, messed up way, you can't help but think it feels nourishing. You take a few more sips, then just another one. Suck on the bag a little bit more. You know, like how you get all the juice out of those, like, freezer pops? That's what I'm imagining. Eventually, you find that you've emptied it entirely. You look at the info press on the side of the bag. All 450 milliliters of it. Even with its blandness, you still feel like having more. You realize your body longs for that intoxicating high you felt when an image of that corpse crosses your mind, causing you to wince. What have you become? The sound effects are so good. And I love the, like, dust particles in the air. Oh, it's so good. It's just cherry juice. Correct. If your LaCroix is viscous, then there is a problem. There is a problem with that LaCroix. You try to piece your thoughts together, make sense of it all, when you hear the lock click and see the door open. Standing there is the well-dressed stranger you met yesterday. Immaculate suit again. That's really what's given me Ventrue. It's serving Ventrue. That predatory look, like a hawk on a hunt, but somehow more relaxed tonight. So, like a tamed hawk, maybe. Good evening. Slept well. He notices the discarded, emptied bag. I see you had a bit of a snack. I think we know that was blood. I think this is the most pressing question here. Am I still a human being? Luckily, one does not typically shed their entire humanity in 2 nights. You should be fine. This is cool. Oh no. If you purposely make your 𝒂𝒾𝒶 viscous, get you some thick 𝒂𝒾𝒶. God, that'd be so gross. Oh my god. I do think this is a cool thing because it's like playing off a mechanic. When when you were just turned, your humanity is at its highest. I mean, unless you invest actual experience into purchasing humanity points. Come on, we've got places to be. The car is humming in the empty parking lot just outside the door of the cramped room you've spent the day in. The man motions to it, politely, but with a stern look on his face. Why do people... I mean, I guess they give you the options, but I'm not dumb. I'm not dumb. That man would crush me. Okay, lead the way. After you. You take the back seat again. The doors lock. The stranger takes the wheel and starts the car. You drive in silence for a while. From time to time, you keep trying to catch glimpses of familiar streets or landmarks through the blackened windows, but it's of little use. The car is also soundproofed, so all you can hear is a bit of traffic humming in the car's engine. The driver doesn't say anything and seems focused on the road. You check the door handle. Yeah, the door's locked all right. The piece of dark glass separating you from the front of the car looks sturdy too. We're in a fancy Escalade. There's nothing left to do but wait. Oh, you're right. It might be a cop car. Or partition! There we go. The partition. You didn't have time to think about it before, but you realize now that you're... hungry? No, not exactly. It's not a rumbling stomach that grabs your attention. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and back of your head. You'd try to extract some information out of the man behind the wheel, but you realize you'd prefer to bask in the afterglow of your last meal. You wouldn't have expected it, but you spend the rest of the trip lost in your thoughts. A lot of them concern blood. Oh, the traffic's speeding by. It takes you another 20 or so minutes to get to your destination. As the door opens, you try to get your bearings. You're still in New York. That much is certain. Queens, maybe? Wait. You know exactly where you are. The nice-looking 2-story building has a logo you immediately recognize. The Art Hole. God damn it. An avant-garde gallery. Used to hold that collection of bagged viscera and body parts by... You can't quite remember the guy's name. He's Brazilian, you think. Fabio something or other? After me. No sudden movements, please. You've never been inside. Not quite your style. But the place has quite the cult following. You keep racking your brain for more facts, hoping they'll help you with whatever you got into. 2 large men in suits flank the door to the gallery on both sides, and they give your companion a nod as you approach. Prompted by the stranger who guides you, you walk inside. The gallery is full, which is unusual at this hour, to say the least. About 24 faces fill the showroom, and a number of waiters navigate the gathering, serving drinks. All of them are beneath the guests' attention. The visitors are well dressed for the most part, but it's unclear what they have gathered here for. Nobody seems to be particularly interested in the art pieces on the walls, and the atmosphere is polite. Unnaturally so. Many guests turn to look at you and the stranger who brought you here. Their glances are varied. You see open contempt on a few faces and animated interest on others. Most of the eyes in the room calmly observe you, as if wishing to appraise your worth. Memories come back to you like a bad case of PTSD. How many times before had someone judged you, impassively or decisively, through your art? You'd share a piece of yourself with the world, and it'd respond by making you feel like garbage. It always took a lot of effort to not lose your cool and tell all of them to shove their opinions up their collective asses. A mood. Now, looking around, it feels like you've become another artwork, this commodity to be judged by a bunch of obscenely wealthy, out-of-touch assholes. It makes you want to scream. Good evening, Kadar, and to you, child. The noble, cold voice takes you out of your head and back to the situation at hand. The gallery, a crowd of strangers, you being brought here against your will, and for what purpose? The room awaits your response. Oh. Yeah, we're gonna be polite. We are out of our depth. Good evening, miss. You are addressing the Prince of New York City, Helene Panhard, child of Michaela. Is this the legitimate prince right now of New York, Helene?
So it's a different world than what we play in?
Oh, okay. A shame. I was going to be really thrilled. I was right! He's a sheriff! I love that. I love that so much. Thank you, my sheriff, but I am capable of introducing myself. She's somewhat plain-looking and doesn't seem to possess a great deal of charm, but still the entire room is intently focused on her voice. She has influence over these people. That much is clear. You may address me as Prince, child. I realize your introduction into unlife was abrupt, and I understand your sire left shortly after. The rules of our society dictate I punish you both for this transgression. A murmur of agreement, maybe, can be heard from the gathered audience. But I am willing to listen to what our loyal sheriff has to say about the circumstances of your embrace first. I don't think we say anything here. We are so far out of our depth. We are so far out of our league. We have no idea what's going on. We're talking to the literal prince of New York, which is a huge area. I'm gonna be quiet. You decide it's best to stay silent and listen to the whole situation unfold. It feels like you're out of your depth here. Shall we begin? You are about to be judged by the court of New York City. Kadir, please tell us how you found this fledgling and what happened on your way here. Man, I'm so glad we cooperated at this point. Court? Prince? Is this some kind of secret society make-believe? A trusted informant who has chosen to remain anonymous at this time tipped me off about a suspicious kindred appearing in one of our domains. Upon investigating, I found them gone, but this fledgling remained in their place. Interestingly, his Sire made use of an older haven of one of the clan of the Rose for the embrace. They were even thoughtful enough to leave a local woman for the fledgling to slake his thirst on. Despite some reservations, he offered little resistance last night and cooperated on our way to the safe house. I was pleased to not have to force his compliance. We had a quick chat, but, wishing to appear here post haste, I urged him to join me, which he did without struggle. A pleasant departure from my usual routine, I must say. His thirst partially slaked with the bagged blood we kept in the safe house, we had a pleasant enough drive here. The story ends with us arriving at Elysium tonight. All eyes are on you again. You take a special interest in one of the faces. It's a beautiful woman, with curly, almost blood-red hair and a dress to match. You see her whispering to some bespectacled man with an absent-minded look on his face. Who is she, you wonder? Thank you, Kadir. I take note of this fledgling's behavior and will take it into consideration later. She turns her attention to you. First, there is the matter of your sire. The person who brought you where Kadir picked you up from last night. Who were they? Man, we know nothing. I think we should be as compliant as possible. Our life is literally on the line. He was beautiful, charismatic, charming, dark hair, sort of a artistic mess. An accent, oh fuck, I didn't even give the man an accent, Jesus Christ. An accent I couldn't recognize. He took notice of my art, of all piece, in fact. I want to meet him again. The last sentence came out almost involuntarily. You immediately feel ashamed, sounding like a sad puppy whimpering after their master. Yeah, you do want to meet that man again. It's an urge deeper than you've ever felt. Maybe even love? No, that's idiotic. He never even introduced himself to you. He used you. That asshole just plain used you. For what? Well, Kadir, does that sound familiar? No, it does not. Or at least not familiar enough. I will continue the search after we're done here. Yes, let's be helpful. That guy, he bought my painting out of the gallery. He didn't pay in cash, I think. Maybe you can track him that way. Oh? Did your outlook on him change all of a sudden? He smirks, seemingly enjoying your misery. Personal jabs aside, thank you for that observation. I will investigate this later. What shall I do with the fledgling, my prince? What is your recommendation, my sheriff? The traditions are clear. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elder's leave, both thou and thy progeny shall be slain. I am ready to fulfill my duty. Stay your hand for just a moment longer, Kadir. I wish to consult my counsel on this. Make sure everyone is in agreement. Of course. He seems strangely relieved. The prince leaves the main showroom, and a handful of people follow her out. You're about to ask this Kadir what all that talk of traditions and councils was, when the red-haired woman approaches the two of you. Sophie. Is this the apple lady from the front? Sheriff, I was wondering if I could have a word with the fledgling. What for? She lowers her voice in response. Come now, Kadir, we all know what the verdict's gonna be. Let me speak to them. You might not have to stain your hands after all tonight. Her words grab his attention. His face is hard to read. It's like several emotions are struggling for domination. Anger, sadness, hope, gratitude, resolve. I'll go get my sword. He steps out of the room the way you came, and you're left in the showroom with the woman in the red dress. She takes you aside, and the eyes of the remaining guests follow you. Well then, fledgling, you are in quite the pickle. What do you mean? I still don't understand what my crime is here. Poor thing. This isn't really your fault, but if you want to get out of here in one piece, you need to understand one crucial fact that seems to have eluded your grasp. Last night, you became a vampire. Wait, what? Oh, yes, I'm well aware of how ridiculous that sounds. It's the reason why we have these nicer words for it. Kindred, being embraced, having a sire. The fact remains. The beings called vampires, you're looking at them. They're us. You glance around. Some of the guests are still occasionally looking at you, commenting on you in hushed tones. Many of the patrons are pale. Really pale. Most hold glasses of wine. No, not wine. That's not the right thickness, and not the right color either. You're trying to come up with something sensible to say, but you're drawing a blank. It makes a morbid kind of sense. You drank blood last night, there's no denying it. And your breathing hasn't returned. Your heart remains still. A vampire. Two voices in your head start battling for supremacy. One of them slowly begins to put everything that happened since yesterday together, coming to a conclusion that no matter how insane it might seem, nothing but what she's saying makes sense here. The other voice just keeps saying, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" on repeat. You're surprised. This is often how it plays out by design. Kadir deliberately keeping you in the dark and all. If we do nothing, you'll be cut down, as sure as day follows night. But I'm here to offer you a chance, a way out, under one condition. I will take you under my wing. If you're lucky, the prince will be in a good mood tonight, and your deference to Kadir will work in your favor. She might agree to this, but only if you swear fealty to me. I'm not making this offer lightly. As your patron, I will take responsibility for you. Your actions will reflect on me. If they reflect negatively, well, I'll make sure you face the consequences. Suppose I say yes, what happens then? You survive, hopefully. Or not, depending on the prince's whim. I'm giving you a chance, not a guarantee. But if you take me as your patron, I will be your guide in this new reality, and you will assist me like a child would a sire. Steps and hushed voices can be heard from the side room. It seems the prince and her council are returning to the showroom. 𝒂𝒃 appears from downstairs as well and starts walking towards you. When you hear the verdict, ask to be spared. I will intervene. Remember my condition. She flashes a heart-melting smile towards 𝒂𝒃, who does not smile back. The sheriff's immaculate suit is now complemented by a curved, ornamental-looking metal scabbard, fastened with a colorful sash around his waist. It would look vaguely ridiculous if it wasn't surprisingly intimidating, first and foremost. 𝒂𝒃 takes his place next to you and observes as the prince takes center stage again. Loyal kindred of the New York City Camarilla gathered here tonight. I've made my decision regarding this fledgling. She briefly addresses you. I want you to know that this was not an easy decision to make. For your part, you've done nothing to earn our ire. I do feel a genuine sorrow for what must be done. We are all keenly aware that these nights we need to close our ranks and trust the wisdom of our elders and their traditions more than ever before. There is no place for tolerating dissent when our very existence is under constant threat. Although I acknowledge some of my council's divergent opinions on this. She takes a look specifically at one of the people who left the room before, a rather plainly dressed, shy-looking man whose skin has a somewhat healthier tone. He bows his head in deference. I hold the final authority over this fledgling's fate, and I declare that while their embrace might be the sire's responsibility, in their absence it is their progeny that must be punished. The sentence is final death, to be resolved presently. 𝒂𝒃? You hear a scraping sound and see that the sheriff has unsheathed his curved sword. It's a beautifully detailed blade, which you expect must be worth a small fortune. Its apparent sharpness makes you freeze up. Two outs. Bottom of the ninth. His quiet mumble is audible to nobody but you. As his eyes meet yours, you note just a hint of sadness in his countenance, one that quickly vanishes to give way to grim determination. And he's out to bat. You will not get another chance to speak up. If you remain silent, do you just, like, fucking die? You make your choice. I don't want to die. Spare me, please. Prince, if I may ask you to stay the sheriff's hand for a while longer? 𝒂𝒃 looks at the prince, awaiting her response. The sword is still hanging above you, threatening to fall at a moment's notice. Is there something you'd like to say, Miss Langley? Yes, if I may. At first, the prince looks somewhat annoyed at the distraction, but she stays quiet for a while, measuring the mood in the room. The bored elites suddenly look at you with aroused interest, some of them dismayed at not seeing the bloodshed, but all intrigued by the unexpected twist. The prince nods. Well, let's hear it. Sophie takes a few steps forward. All eyes are on her now, but 𝒂𝒃's heavy hand on your shoulder makes it clear you won't take advantage of the distraction. My prince, while the traditions are clear, I believe that the proper context should be observed in addition to the letter of our laws. This fledgling is a burden, but with proper guidance, they could become an asset to our domain. Am I to understand you are volunteering to take this sireless child under your protection? Yes, I happen to think they might hold a potential that would be unfortunate to waste. I do expect their full cooperation, of course. Whispers can be heard again, an incredulous voice or two, a hushed, "Just behead the fucker," some suppressed exclamations of surprise. Silence. I ask all of you to make a note of this moment. I might be persuaded to bend one tradition in this child's favor, but another will have to be enforced even more firmly in its stead. Until thy progeny shall be released, thou shalt command them in all things. Their sins are thine to endure. Are you certain that's a responsibility you wish to shoulder, Miss Langley? I am willing to guide this fledgling and add a valuable ally to our sect in a time of need, yes. But I would like to receive the right of destruction over them, if it pleases you. Oh my god. I think we remain silent here. I am letting Sophie do her thing. It's clear tensions are high. It feels surreal to listen to strangers discussing your death, or second death, apparently, and keeping silent. You decide it's for the best to let Sophie handle this alone and not interject. You have no idea how to handle this eyes wide shut crowd. The prince looks at you as if weighing your worth. She takes another good measure of the room before speaking again. I shall grant what you ask. Let it be known, Sophie Langley of the Clan of the Rose will become this fledgling's patron. They shall be considered like sire and child. Miss Langley will take full responsibility for them, and I grant her the right of destruction if she sees fit to use it. Let my intentions be clear, however. If I am to turn a blind eye to one of our most important traditions on this occasion, I expect it to be beneficial to the Camarilla. Substantially so. I hope you find this verdict satisfactory, Miss Langley. Of course, Prince. Thank you. Very well. She turns to you. What is your name, child? Oh, cool. So I'm a big fan of vampires changing their name upon the embrace, or an individual changing their name. So keeping the name that you had when you were alive seems a little superfluous to me, especially because you don't keep a lot of the trappings of that life. So for instance, in my game, my character's name was Isabella Tite, T-I-T-E, the daughter of William Tite, who is a real-life architect. Her name was changed to Bellathine because her nickname used to be Belle. Isabella to Bellathine. She changed her last name to her father's last work of art, which happened to be a graveyard, the Norwood Cemetery. So, in game, her name went from Isabella Tite to Bellathine Norwood. So, I like to keep them linked, but only a little. So I think using an artist moniker is really cool. I hope it doesn't piss anybody off. I'm a painter. I used a moniker before. Would that suffice? You may use any name that's appropriate to be utilized in an official manner. My name's Emma then. She nods. Welcome to the Camarilla, Emma. Now, This evening proved to be even more eventful than I anticipated. But with this fledgling's fate decided, I believe our meeting here can conclude. Thank you all for appearing on such short notice. Give my regards to those who could not make it. Kadir, a moment of your time before I let you return to your duties. Of course, Prince. He shoots you a sidelong glance that doesn't leave much space for interpretation. You will be watched. You will be judged. And, if need be, you will be punished. The two of them leave the gallery. Well, Emma, I think we've both already managed to significantly improve each other's evenings. But let's keep the ball rolling, shall we? I think that we should have a toast to a new fruitful partnership. She raises her hand at one of the well-dressed concierges who have now reappeared in the showroom to refill the guests' glasses. The conventionally handsome man approaches with a carafe of red liquid. He pours it into 2 tall glasses. It's blood again, that much is clear. You were in 2 minds about drinking it, but the memory of last night's hunger makes you wince. You take a tentative sip. You expect the same blandness you tasted a few hours ago, but this one you can actually savor. It's smoky and warm, making you think of a cozy cabin in the woods. I'm going to harken back to the Velvet Death and the sort of like vineyards that they have, where they have humans who have particular diets, so their blood tastes of specific things. Like, my favorite example is if you only feed someone oranges and cloves, that's going to make their blood taste a certain way. It does strike you as a strange image for your mind to jump to when drinking human blood, but it is what it is. You've never tasted anything like it. Do you like it? I think New York City caterers have very bougie ideas about what good blood should taste like. Apologies, you must have so many questions. While we're on the topic, perhaps we should start with those related to sustenance. I think where do we get it is the most important thing right now. It's kind of weird that you are waiters serving blood. Where do you get it from? That can be a bit of a touchy topic. Let's just say that most of the blood available at events like this is crowdfunded. Did I get that right? It's hard to keep track of modern language. At any rate, what I mean is that there is a plethora of vessels on tap. As for where to get blood when you're not at Elysium, tomorrow I shall take you hunting and we will explore this topic further. What you need to know right now is that no matter how much you drink, you will always be tempted to have more. Unless you consume someone wholly to the last drop. But even that doesn't last. Best start by taking a single sip from a vessel. Be prudent. Hot, fresh blood is more satiating than most anything that can be served in a fancy glass. But it can make you more voracious. As to how much you should have, it depends. If you're frugal, you can survive many nights without a single drink. But it's risky, and it'll tempt the beast. That's part of our curse. Thank you. The fangs are super amazing. I love them very much. Yeah, I think we can kind of gather what hunting is. I think the beast is the bigger issue now. The beast you mentioned, is that a metaphor or... Oh, it's quite real. Although not in a strictly physical sense, it lives in all of us. Our nature and hunger manifest. of those more religious among us connected to the biblical Cain. So this is something that's a part of Masquerade that's not a part of Requiem. The rage of the first murderer, caused by God seething in all his descendants. I, however, am a child of the Enlightenment. Not that that makes my struggle any easier. I have to be wary, like every other kindred in this city and beyond. Individual kindred each have a unique relationship to their beast. What yours is going to be remains to be seen. But you do need to keep it under control. Each outburst endangers not just you, but also the Masquerade. The concierge returns, asks for permission to intrude, which Sophie gives with a polite smile, and leans in to whisper in her ear. You note that the gallery is now almost empty. I'm being told the gallery is just about to close, but we still have quite a lot to discuss. We'll go to one of my apartments. My jalopy is waiting downstairs. Come. The smile she puts on makes you remember last night's encounter in the showroom. A similar eagerness to spend time with this person overtakes you momentarily, and you follow her outside. Your sixth sense tells you she's an artistic soul, too, and you unwittingly start projecting good qualities onto her. God, I love the 𝒂𝒹𝒾𝒶. They're the best. Sophie leads you to a luxurious silver Rolls Royce. This is what Belathine has in the game that we play. Remember, she's dating the prince. So the prince gave her, I think it's called a Maybach. I'm not a car person, but two of the boys at the table are, Merlin and my bestie Tater. And so they pick out all the fancy cars. I know that one's called a Maybach. Then Aiden bought her the fancier one because he was being petty and jealous. So she has a Maybach and a Rolls Royce with the partition in both. But I'm still so tickled that all the cars that they're using here are the cars that we're using in our Vampire the Requiem game. For each one. Like, the Deva has the the Rolls Royce, and the person who's working for the prince has the Escalade. It's great. Sophie leads you to a luxurious silver Rolls Royce and invites you to sit in the back. The chauffeur, a broad-shouldered, clean-shaven, middle-aged guy, starts driving immediately. Where did we leave off? I believe I started telling you a bit more about our customs. You've heard the prince refer to our traditions. The chief among them is the Masquerade. As you might have gathered from us assembling at a niche gallery after closing time, our comings, goings, and doings tend to be somewhat secretive. We do not advertise our existence. We allow myths and modern fiction to morph and muddle the facts. So, to the vast majority of kind, we remain bedtime stories and pop culture icons. Say, is that one television show about a vampire angel still popular? I love stuff like that. I play that into my games too. Like, Belle has a phone, and she, uses it. She knows how to check her email and can, check social media. But, she had a Google Maps, pin drop happen, and she just, looked at it. And remember Marco from earlier? Her freshly made child? She just kind of, gives him the phone, and he kind of, looks at it, and he drops it for her, and then, it does everything it's supposed to. So I try to, play a little bit into that, too. It's good shit. I love it. It's really fun to add in. You shake your head in confusion. She shrugs and continues talking, looking a little bit more dejected than before. Our clandestine ways help us remain safe, allow us to explain away the occasional trip up to the rational minds of 21st century humanity, and dictate much of our interactions with mortals. I think she'll cover the risk. So I think Are we going to be hella practical? Because this is definitely the most practical question. But this is entertaining. It might teach us about Banes. There has to be some stuff that the books or movies got right. Is that all just vampire propaganda? There's a kernel of truth in every myth. Those concerning kindred are no exception. There are mortals who sift through and manage to separate the facts, all. Though it doesn't happen thanks to Hollywood. For one, sunlight burns us. That's why we rest during the day. You felt it. More like being dead than dormant, isn't it? But we have no choice. We are night dwellers, but day sleepers. Some more folk-related threats are just legends, or occasionally a minor nuisance. Garlic, running water, even religious symbols don't repel us, unless the wielder is uniquely pure and godly. Stakes through the heart, though, that's something to avoid. They don't destroy, but they do paralyze, which, under the right circumstances, can often be the same thing. So this is really cool. This is called torporing. When you get, it has to be a wooden stake too, not just a stake of any make. It has to be wooden, and it has to be through the heart. And you basically just, like, literally, like she says, become paralyzed. You can leave a vampire there for thousands of years, and they're not dead. They're still frozen in time. They're paralyzed. It's so wild, which is why she says under the right circumstances it can be, because unless somebody comes along and pulls that stake out, you're donezo. That's a reason to have somebody like my trusted driver, Gregory, making sure you're safe when you drift away. He's her ghoul! We have many enemies, and they often know their advantage lies with daylight. So it's not necessarily vampires versus humans. We have just learned that it's good to keep humans as friends. So I think this is definitely going to be the most logical question. You mentioned enemies. I guess that makes it necessary to watch each other's backs. Can you count on other vampires for that? She surprises you by letting out a soft chuckle before answering. No. Our little sex supplies social interactions aplenty, but it doesn't really encourage counting on someone. Support given in exchange for favors. Yes, that's more like it. Long-term solidarity does occur in the Camarilla, but we're a very politicized organization by necessity. Loyalty is to your sire, to your prince, and to the sect. When you're in Elysium, like we were tonight, the sect can appear to be a monolith. The reality is more complex. Outside of social gatherings, shady deals and a quid pro quo mentality reigns supreme. She seems to be lost in thought and falls silent for a while, leaving you to ponder all the things you've learned tonight. It still feels absolutely unreal. But as piece after piece of knowledge falls into place, the image becomes almost like an entirely logical jigsaw puzzle. Whatever you wouldn't believe on your own, you witnessed. Many questions swarm your thoughts. But the one you keep returning to is what your place in this new reality should be. The car stops. You're in this city, in front of an old but well-renovated apartment building. We're here. Would you like to see your lodgings? I think this is logical to ask. I know we said we had to leave our life behind, but we have things. What if we want to go get them? I have an apartment I could go back to. Sleep there. All my stuff's there anyway. Does it have sunproof blinds or a solid secure door? No, I think you'll find this apartment much safer. Come upstairs. She leads you through a small hall with a night guard who greets, Miss Langley, with a good evening. And you take the stairs up to the second floor. Sophie opens the door to room 209. Inside, there are all the amenities you could expect from a modern apartment, and some you wouldn't have deemed necessary just the previous night, including thick blinds on the windows. The back room has a comfortable-looking bed and a thick steel door with several sturdy-looking locks, but no windows. Well, how do you like it? We're going to be very thankful today. It's great. Thank you. I'm glad. Make yourself at home. Tomorrow, I'll take you hunting and discuss the blood in more detail. I'll let you get comfortable. The keys are by the television set. I will come pick you up tomorrow night. Use the back room for rest. You can lock the doors, just in case. It stings a bit when she leaves. It's like the room suddenly became a few shades dimmer. You inspect the kitchen, hoping to find something to drink. Nothing. No regular food either. Feels strange that Kadir could be a more thoughtful host than your new sire, even if only in that respect. You briefly wonder if the sheriff might have a hidden side. With nothing left to do, you lie on the couch with the TV playing in the background for company. Columbo reruns. Kojak reruns. President of the United States got himself into serious trouble again. President of the United States got himself out of trouble again. Pundits start yelling over each other about things that seemed a little bit less insignificant just 2 days ago. You start drifting off, reflecting about another night of confusing conversations and worldview-shattering revelations. How many more before you finally understand what happened to you and what you're supposed to do now? You keep coming back to the life you left behind, the people you should contact, the things you want to pick up from your apartment. You wonder when you'll have the chance for either. As you start to feel the same tiredness that made you drift into a cold sleep last night, you settle in the back room. Good. I was worried he wouldn't give us an option. The bed's comforting. The lack of windows less so. You leave the light bulb on. Looking at it, you realize it's the closest you'll ever come to staring at the sun on a breezy summer day again. A wave of melancholy overwhelms you. A few minutes later, your consciousness fades and you take the plunge into darkness again. Sinking, 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 sinking. This is so cool. Can I do anything? I can't go anywhere, so I guess we just rest. What? Tutorial? Hunger is at the heart of a vampire's existence. To ignore it is to tempt the beast to take over in its desire to feed. To overindulge in feeding may threaten the masquerade while staining what humanity you have left. Yeah, they just don't even mention the body. The poor college student, I'm assuming, given her hoodie, that was in the dude's apartment. Wild. The Coteries of New York, having high hunger, is indicated by a progressively thicker, bloody frame around the screen, like this one you see now. What? Are we just gonna get to run around and shit? Oh my god. As your hunger grows, so does the indicator. Your hunger may increase when you call upon your vampiric powers, or when you need to mend your wounds after a fight. When your hunger reaches the maximum level, you will receive a warning after you complete a piece of the story. Ignore it at your own peril. Some choices might only become visible if your hunger is high enough. Similarly, high hunger may block off some choices, as you will be able to see after pressing continue. What? Oh. To decrease your hunger, you will need to feed. Whenever you see a feeding opportunity, you can take the risk to hunt and slake your hunger. I always say thirst when we're in game, but hunger also makes sense. Ah, okay. You will need to keep the hunger at bay if you're to uphold the masquerade and survive the nights that await you. Eh? Wow, that's really cool. I thought this was just going to be a mostly visual novel, so I'm really impressed that it looks like we're going to have more mechanics to this than I thought. You open your eyes. The bed isn't warm. The room is filled with artificial light from the ceiling. The solid metal door is closed. Normally, you'd stretch for a bit. On some mornings, you'd probably throw the quilt over yourself and snooze a moment longer. But that was before. The way you woke up now, you're fully conscious. No grogginess, nothing weighing you down, just the nagging need in the back of your head. Hunger. Not as severe as the last time, but unmistakably there. You get up and open the door to the main room. A digital clock on the TV shows you the time. 9:04 p.m. You walk over to the blinds and retract them cautiously. The only light coming in is New York City's artificial nighttime luminance. So that's what your waking hours are going to look like now. You miss the sunlight already. You're seriously considering just walking out of the apartment and figuring this all out by yourself. But then you come back to the memory of Kadir's exotic sword being raised in the gallery. Maybe sticking around isn't that bad of an idea after all. You keep jumping channels for around half an hour and then a switch to streaming services. Almost as if the universe had a sense of irony, you catch True Blood in the flood of recommendations. Oh my god. That legitimately startled me. The doorbell rings. It's Sophie. Good evening, Emma. Slept well? 𝒂𝒹𝒾𝒶. Curious wording, but not that far from the truth, I suppose. No use dwelling on. I think you'll agree with time. You made the right choice yesterday. I can teach you many things about yourself. Your blood, its desires, its power. We'll begin tonight. You're hungry, yeah? I'm sure you are. Our kind always is. There is only one remedy. The blood. The drinks we had yesterday at Elysium are not the usual way you slake your thirst. That depends on the vampire. So, tonight, I will assist you in your first foray into hunting. You need to learn to sense the kind of blood you desire, to understand how you can use the kinds of vulnerabilities to your advantage. What do we want to say? So, let me get this straight. We are predators. Humans of prey? That's pretty grim. I know what you feel. I remember the notion. But you will inevitably grow beyond it. You need blood to thrive, but there are many ways to take it, some more humane than others. Oh yeah, absolutely playing as 𝒂𝒹𝒾𝒶. I play Vampire the Requiem, the tabletop game, habitually every week. And I play a Deva in that. And so this is the closest thing I can get to what I normally choose. So I'm just enjoying the fuck out of it. You will find that drinking moderate amounts of it regularly will keep the hunger and the whispers of the beast away. You might think yourself monstrous, but there is a balance to be found here. I definitely do that in my campaign. Requiem is really great. Again, I haven't played Masquerade, so I can't like make a call between the two, but I really, really love Requiem. I can handle almost every situation without violence. I'm a big RPer, and so I love that. I can just talk my way in or out of every situation, and it is beautiful. I love it so much. So, as to this humane drinking, that's kind of what the Velvet Death, which is Bellathene's club, her nightclub, in the game that we play in my campaign. And they don't... I mean, it's not consensual because they're Deva. I mean, they're still drinking from them, but it's not like they're taking it from them unwillingly. There's a really nasty blurred line there because it is unconsensual, because you're kind of coercing them and charming them into being compliant. But they don't ever kill people, and I guess that's honestly one of the most humane ways they can accomplish survival, right? And for Bellathene specifically, she rotates feeding like from real people throughout. She's got how many people in her? I call it her reverse harem. She's got Bree, who's an Instagram influencer. There's Juniper, and she is a video game designer. Luca, who is a K-pop backup dancer. Artois, who is a fancy boy chef. He makes all the food at Velvet Death. Barista. I've forgotten his name. And then now Marco. But yeah, you just occasionally drink from real people, but mostly drink wine. And again, like as they state here, the wine's not as good, but it's more humane. And Belle has a high humanity score. So out of 10, she has an 8, which is pretty difficult to maintain. Most kindred sit at a 6 or a 5. The kiss gives the kind pleasure. You might remember this from your own embrace. Some can even become addicted to the sensation, but if you do it right, they tend to misremember your feeding. I don't know if the Toreador have this, but the Deva can sink points into something called succubus kiss, where they do become addicted. And of course I have that. After all, vampires do not exist. They're myths, fairy tales, pop culture mainstays, correct? She gives you a sly, knowing smile. And that's why the masquerade is so important, and even more crucial when you feed. Well, she's kind of told us how we cover our tracks because they tend to misremember. I think avoid being seen is going to be the most pressing issue. How do you avoid being seen while feeding? You isolate your prey, or you choose the right circumstances. People tend to avert their gaze when they see a couple intertwined in public. Yes, that's how I typically go about this too. Love bites are easy to explain away. Some of us keep willing herds. Okay, so this is set up just how the Requiem is. Or even just individual kind who desire the kiss. That comes at a higher risk these nights, though. So I wouldn't recommend it to a young kindred like yourself. Feeding from the same area repeatedly can be dangerous. But by branching out, you risk the ire of other kindred on whose domains you trespass. Lucky for you, New York City is more forgiving in this regard. New York is in somewhat of a unique position. Many of its neighborhoods remain contested or unclaimed. The reason for this is a lesson for another time. But keep the following in mind. Take opportunities to feed when they present themselves these upcoming nights. As long as you hunt cautiously and respect the masquerade at all times, you should be fine. To wit, I want you to join me for a trip tonight. Come downstairs, Gregory's waiting for us. The busy street fills the air with traffic noise, pedestrian chatter, and a mix of smells that disorient you momentarily. These warm bodies contain what you want, what you need. I don't even know how to save this. We haven't saved any of our progress. You think it auto-saves between scenes? Okay. Well, maybe this is a good place to stop them. God, it's been super fucking fun. And I'm gonna take my fangs out so I can finally have my boba. It's just been chilling here. I hope that each and every one of you has a wonderful rest of your day or night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. For more content, you can check out these videos, or my stream on Twitch, or cosplay on Instagram, or my OnlyFans. All the links are in the description. Have a great rest of your day.